Have you ever felt like your own worst enemy? Constantly second guess yourself and holding yourself back from your full potential? Today, we're going to dive into the topic that affects us all, getting rid of our own self-doubt. In this video, we're unlocking the secrets that you're going to need in order to break free from self-doubt. We'll uncover the roots of this limiting belief and equip you with practical strategies to reclaim your self-confidence and unleash your true potential. Hey, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, my name is Bennett. I'm here to share some ideas that have helped me move the needle just a little bit in my own life, and I hope you find it beneficial. We're going to break this video down into 3 different aspects of self-doubt. Number 1 is really focusing on ourselves. Number 2, focusing on the people around us. And number 3, what are practical tools that we're going to need to do in order to just get rid of this doubt that we all have. Feel free to skip around the video if you're looking for something specific, but let's dive in. The first place we need to really start to focus on is really the inner work of ourselves. You see, so many times we feel so bad and there's so much guilt around the fact that we don't necessarily like ourselves, that we know that we could be doing more and we're not doing more. And what happens is that the more negative we get, the more we focus on that self-doubt, the more it's going to be able to take over us. And what we have to try to do is we have to try to separate the self-doubt from what it is we're actually feeling and what it is we're actually doing. If we could start to be open and honest with ourselves and be a little bit vulnerable to say, hey, you know what? I might be able to be doing a little better in X, Y, and Z field. Or maybe I can have certain relationships that I really want to be working on. And acknowledging that it all starts with us, that could be the first place that we could start to move forward. Recognizing that that vulnerability is not showing weakness, it's actually showing strength, that you are taking responsibility for your own personal life and you're looking to change something. When it comes to self-doubt, and I know when I work on it personally, I recognize that it's really coming from a place of confidence. I don't necessarily have the highest self-esteem that I need to have in order to make sure that I can succeed at something. And if we could start to recognize that we have to build our self-confidence up and our own self-esteem and our self-worth, that could be the thing that could start to change it all. And the reason why we have low self-esteem and we have low self-worth, because we have these stories in our mind that are reminding us that, hey, you know what? You're not so confident because that time you didn't step up and you didn't raise your hand in class. Or because you didn't make the team in high school, you had this value about yourself that you're not worthy. But what we have to try to do is we have to try to find those other stories. The stories that can reassure us and bring proof to us to who it is that we truly are. And what's interesting, that if you can sit down and think about it for just a second, you'll start to be able to see certain things in your life, certain patterns in your life. And what's really cool about our brains is that we start to rationalize all the ways that we feel, and we find the proof that supports that way. So if we are on the decline and looking at all the self-doubt and low confidence, we're going to find support for that. What we have to try to do is we have to try to pierce through that and try to figure out what it is we need to be doing. It's the most difficult work, but it's the place we need to be starting. It's why I'm a huge fan of journaling and really just starting to write things out. And if you're like, Bennett, well, I don't know where to start. I don't know what it is that I have. I really don't have anything good in my life. Then try to speak to a mentor, somebody that you look up to and somebody who you know has your back. It can even be a parent, a best friend, a teacher, and ask them, what do you think I'm good at? What are some qualities that I actually succeed at? And I'm telling you, they're going to be able to shine that light on you, because so many times it's so difficult to see what it is we're going through when we're standing on in the inside. But if you could see what's happening from the outside and get that feedback, that could be the thing that could really help us move forward. Regardless of how our links are going, the negative and the positive are happening. And what we need to try to do is we need to focus more on the positive and less on the negative. And by doing that, we're going to be able to prove to ourselves that we can be more confident, we can have a higher self-esteem, we can have a higher self-worth. It's not just random when something good happens to us, but we can create those good times for ourselves. So acknowledging that the first part about destroying our self-doubt is to really recognize that we need to build ourselves up. It needs to stem from the foundation, and that foundation is ourselves and our inner self-confidence, our inner self-worth. By slowly starting to pierce into it, maybe once a day or once a week, we're going to start to build this muscle up of seeing how we are actually good at certain things, that we have certain skills that maybe other people don't have. And by doing that, we're going to start to put ourselves in a situation where we'll be able to start to succeed and to be able to start to get rid of that self-doubt. The second category we're going to talk about is the comparison trap. How many of us are constantly comparing ourselves to other people? We see other people's social media feeds, we see other people walking on the street, and we say, how is it possible that they have that type of lifestyle? Why can't I have that? wow, their life looks so amazing. And these might not be things that we're saying out loud, but subconsciously we're all saying that. There's a reason why we keep looking at somebody's social media page, and it's because we want to know what's going on with their life. We're excited to live through them their own personal life. And by doing that, we're degrading ourselves. We're taking away our own experiences, our own personal life. And what ends up happening is we end up comparing ourselves to them, and therefore we don't take any action. And all we start to do is we start to hide in our shell. And the less experiences we have, the less we put ourselves out there, and the more we compare ourselves and distance ourselves from this fake life that other people might be living, we end up holding ourselves back. And when we hold ourselves back, of course we're gonna have so much self-doubt, because how is it possible for me to do that thing that that person is doing? And even if that person is really sincere and really authentic with what it is they are doing, we have to recognize that it's not our life and it's not going to be beneficial to us. And by us comparing ourselves to them is not going to serve us. What I see many times with guys is they start to compare themselves because it inspires them, it gets them to take the action. But what we need to realize is that yes, it might help us to take some action, but is it doing more good or bad? And for so many of us, it's really just bringing us down. So we might take a step forward, but because we didn't do it as much as the other person did it, we end up taking ourselves 2 or 3 steps back because we're beating ourselves up. Recognizing that we cannot compare ourselves to other people, and is the quickest way to destroy ourselves, our own self-esteem, and to keep ourselves in this world of the self-doubt. On a similar note, what we have to try to do is we have to try to focus on the things that we can control. You see, in life, many people set goals, but they set a goal that they don't have control of. For example, you might be on social media and you might say, I want to have 1 million followers following me. But you have to realize that you can't technically get 1 million people to follow you. What you have to do is you have to create good enough content that's going to be able to get out there for them to be able to follow you. So for you to have a goal of getting 1 million followers is not really realistic because you don't have control over that goal. What we have to try to do is we have to try to set ourselves up in a specific way to allow ourselves to do the things that will then make certain things happen. So if I have a goal of putting up 50 pieces of quality content every week, so it's more likely for me to be able to get to a place where I'm going to be able to have 1 million followers in a certain amount of time. So the same thing happens with our own confidence and what we're trying to do within ourselves. If we can start to push ourselves in a way where, you know what, I'm not going to set myself for failure, and I'm going to set myself small goals to allow myself to be able to achieve the actions that are possible, then I'll be able to see the results that I want. So many people set the wrong goals, and because they set the wrong goals, they end up just bashing themselves and they end up hurting themselves to move forward. That being said, for me to be able to create quality content is something that I would love to do to be able to help more people. If you have gotten any value out of this so far, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And now into our third topic of taking action. What are the things practically we can start to do to allow ourselves to move forward and to get out of this pit of self-doubt? The first area that we need to realize is that we need to start doing the work. But for some reason, we lack the confidence in taking action in a certain area. But the only reason why we don't have the confidence is because we never had the courage to take the action. The confidence is only the result of taking that action. So if we can start to be able to prove to ourselves that we can start to take that action, that could be the thing that shifts it all. For so many people, they get so scared that they feel like they're not able to take the action. And they have that backwards. But we have to realize this is the action comes first, and then the confidence builds. So the next time you get scared to do something, recognize that that fear is you growing. It's actually not a bad thing. Realize in that moment, you're going to be able to become somebody in order to grow in that area, to allow yourself to see the success that you want. And if we can let the work that we put in be the proof to ourselves that we are going to be able to succeed at the thing that we want, that can help us. And guess what? The more you put in, the more undeniable proof you're going to be able to have to yourself that you can do it. Think about it. If you put 5,000 hours into a specific skill, do you not think you're going to be more confident to do that thing? For so many of us, we put our toes in the water, but then we just end up giving up. And for me, there's been so many times where that's happened. But because of that, I never gave myself a fair shot. So for me to beat myself up is not fair. So if we can stay consistent and we can stay disciplined with the work we're looking to do, that could be the thing that helps us move forward to build our confidence. And one of the greatest ways to do it is to really start small. You see, me, I'm somebody who's a big picture guy. I'm constantly thinking about the next big thing that I could be doing. But I realized that it used to get me stuck all the time because I was always focused on step 6 or 7, and I was never focused on the next thing I needed to do. If we can start to understand it within ourselves and to realize, hey, you know what? I have the possibility of taking one small step in the right direction and then another step and another step and another step. I'm going to be able to see that success that I want instead of thinking that there's some type of shortcut, but recognizing if I could just be patient and disciplined, that could be the thing that really helps me. The next tip you need to be doing is you need to start collecting your wins. Throughout our days, we don't even realize how many things have gone right for us, how many things we've set ourselves up for. And if we can start collecting those wins, and in the beginning, they're going to be a little small and maybe a little silly. As we put ourselves out and as we get more confidence, that's going to be the thing that's going to allow us to see what it is that we're doing and how it is we're pushing ourselves. For example, I one time went over to a billionaire to ask him a specific question. He didn't really have an answer for me. But for me, the win wasn't necessarily getting a yes or a no. The win was to go over and to ask him. You see, I was nervous, I was scared. But because I went over to him and I played a different game and I just shifted it just a little bit, I allowed myself and I put myself out there to get the thing that I wanted. Because for so long, I was so scared to get myself to come up and to approach him. And I realized that I really need to start to shift what's going on here. But because of that, I gave myself permission to take the action that I really wanted. Understanding that our wins are so powerful. So whether you write them in your phone, on the computer, you actually get your own little journal to do it. You have to really figure out what it is that you can start to do when it comes to the wins that you want. They're all there. And the question is, are we collecting them or are we just letting them fall to the wayside? And the last and final tip that you need to start to do is you need to start to build your team. You look at any successful person, they have a team of people around them who are helping them grow and become the person that they can become. For so many people, the reason why they're so down all the time is because they're just surrounded by such negative people. If you can start to surround yourself with the people who are going to be able to look out for you, help you, give you the constructive criticism, and then allow you to see the success that you want, that could be a huge game changer. So many people might even want the best for you, but they don't realize that they're holding you back. They're not letting you see the success that you want and become the person that you want. Unfortunately, it happens too often, but if we could start to realize who are the people in my circle that I really need, who are the people that I want to have around me to help push me to succeed, to become the person that I want, that's going to be the thing that's going to change everything. As much as we like to think that we could do it ourselves, we have to realize that we have other people also. And although we spoke about self-esteem and confidence a bunch, if you want a bigger deep dive into that, make sure to take a look at this next video, which I give 7 reasons for why you might feel broken.